whenever you try to define art, it's one of the hardest definitions you're going to try and articulate.
I'm going to draw something on you forever. Like, and to know, I'm actually good enough I can do that. Like, that's a cool thing. I'd also probably have unprotected sex with Boodro too. So, like, whoa. So good.
Oh, it's coming out good.
What's the, when you pitched this idea to Boodro, what was the idea behind it?
Stand up for me.
Oh, yeah. Basically, all I said was, like, mic stand, you know, because we're both comics. Okay. Like, we're both comics, so I thought that'd be, like, connecting it all together. We're sitting here talking. So it seemed like connected to what we were doing. But all I said was, like, mic stand, and then he made this crazy cool piece of art, which is just amazing to me.
And then you had no notes on it? You were just,
well,
you just
like
loved it?
well, because we were talking about, like, the reason I have this tattoo on my arm is it's a George Carlin quote. And so he had Carlin's face up in the corner, and I was like, man, I don't even know if I want my kid's picture tattooed on my arm.
Right.
Like, I'll have his words. I'm not sure if I want his face on my arm.
So on that first tattoo, the Carlin was a piece of it?
Yeah, well, on this one, basically what he said in an interview 30 years ago, whatever, what he wanted on his tombstone, like, to encapsulate his life and his career was, like, too hip for the room, which is something I think you and I both sort of deal with as comics. And every comic that deals with the idea, sometimes you just catch those situations where they're just too conservative, but you still want to entertain them, but also, like, they're not going to get this completely.
Yeah, there is a...
it's more about making sure your comedy is for you and them, not just them.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, because you forget when you're starting, you either do it just for you,
right,
which that doesn't go well, or you do it just for them, and that's difficult.
Usually not great comedy.
Yeah. Doing it for you and them is the balance you have to find, and that's difficult work.
One of the things I like the most about tattoo, the absolute boldness and confidence it takes to be like, I'm going to draw something on you forever. Like, and to know, I'm actually good enough I can do that. Like, that's a cool thing.
Well, and then the trust that you got to give to that person's confidence too.
Yeah,
it's like, I don't know which ones.
I mean, to be fair, I'd also probably have unprotected sex with Boodro too. So, like,
whoa.
It is, I mean, the confidence to do that is heavier than the confidence it takes to think you can go on stage and make 300 strangers laugh who all had a different day.
Also true.
Yeah, but you know, while that bomb might hurt, it's not as permanent.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's essentially that's the basis of the show, is the stress between both items and how they're equally challenging. No one drank out of this water, by the way.
Oh, okay.
All right, we set?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So James, I'm gonna do what's called a bloodline first. All right, so James, man, you're a full-time traveling comic. So if you could express in one word what a traveling comic is, like that life is like, what would that word be?
One word. I can do a sentence, but I don't know if I can
Take
do
a sentence.
Just dick jokes for money.
Dick jokes for money.
You know, dick jokes with a message, but still.
So meaningful dick jokes. So as a traveling comic, is that challenge like getting to areas where people might not know exactly what kind of material you're going to do? Is that, you know, like a little bit of an uphill battle?
I mean, there's a certain level of confidence that I feel like we all have, whether we deserve it or not, to do it in the first place, where we just assume it's going to work out. Like, we're just like, yeah, this will be fine. But I don't know. It's that's kind of the challenge of it, right? Is like, we got these people, none of them, like, it's so different when you're performing for people who know who you are and people who don't. Because people who know who you are, like, they know what they're about to see. But people that don't, like, it's just a crapshoot. You're just hoping that what you're putting out is going to work for
somebody.
them.
Yeah, somebody.
Like, hopefully at least like 30% of the people in this room will laugh, so everybody else will laugh too because they feel weird not laughing.
So I know you and I had talked a little bit behind the scenes, and you said you were a truck driver. Was that like your longest career next to comedy?
No, my dad was a truck driver growing up. So my whole childhood was him being a truck driver. So I went with him on the road like 2-3 times a year for like a week or two at a time. And so it was just something I like understood. And like, I was like 22. My life was just an absolute shit show wreck because, I just made so many wonderful choices. And so I was like, I don't know. My dad said to me, he was like, I don't know, man, I'll help you out if you want to go to truck driving school, because my life was just a mess.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, yeah, I'll do that. So I did. I went to truck driving school, got my CDL, and I did that for, a little under 2 years. And I got to, all 48 of the contiguous states. That was cool to travel the country, see all those things. But there was also a part of it that was just super lonely. Mm-hmm. That, like, you really do find yourself talking to, like, shipping clerks for, like, 20 minutes.
As opposed to being a comedian, talking to the people in the hotel lobby.
Right. But it's different because you're doing the show. Also, I had burned a lot of friendship bridges. It was kind of pre-cell phone era, so I wasn't sitting there calling a lot of people. It was just a very lonely life where you're like talking to a waitress at a truck stop, like trying to have actual human connection. And it was kind of the thing that made me realize that was something that even mattered to me, because I thought I was just Mr. Lone Wolf. I don't need anybody. Mm-hmm. But yeah, you very quickly figure out when you're doing that like, nah, man, I need to interact with people that know me. So
what career was right before comedy? Was it the truck driving?
No. So at part of why I stopped being a truck driver was I was like, well, if I'm going to have a grown-up job, I want the benefits of being a grown-up, which in my brain at the time was like, wife and family and all that stuff. So I quit being a truck driver and started dating somebody. She and I got married, made people, did all that kind of stuff. And I started working in a hotel and then moved my way up to hotel management. And just as the economy was collapsing in 2008, like as that entire thing was going down, whole world's falling apart. Because I had moved up to the point that I was a roaming GM, so I was going from hotel to hotel, like as their GMs were like on vacation or if their GM got fired. Well, so my position got eliminated, so I got laid off. And at that same time, my first marriage was collapsing. So I found myself unemployed, without a wife, but 2 kids. And so I was like, well, this is a good time to start comedy. Because I always wanted to. Like I was literally moving to LA to start pursuing comedy when literally on 9/10/2001.
Oh wow!
Yeah, and I woke up in a hotel room in Memphis, Tennessee, on my way to LA, and turned on the TV, and the Twin Towers were getting hit by airplanes.
Oh wow!
So,
that's crazy.
So I actually turned around and came back home, and that was when, like everything, I was like, all right, well I guess we'll do the truck driving thing. So
okay.
Then did the truck driving thing, and then stopped doing that.
So I know traditionally, like, don't truck drivers make good money? Or it's possibility?
Well, it depends. Like, it depends on what you define as good money.
Enough to pay your bills.
Sort of, but
There's
you
so
also
many
have to live on the road. So if you manage to live on the road, eat, feed yourself, all that stuff for under, a couple $100 a week, which is kind of hard to do, actually.
Yeah, I bet.
Then there is enough left over that you can pay for. If you've been doing it for 20 years, you're a lot more likely to make enough to support yourself and a family.
Yeah, there's a lot of different situations. The owner-operator, who you're working for, all of that. When you said earlier that you had always wanted to do comedy, since when? What were the thoughts, and how wrong were you when you actually started it?
Well, like it started like as a little kid. Bill Cosby's himself, all that kind of stuff, and just sort of being amazed at like how good, like just how much I loved it. I just loved it, and so I was drawn to it. But it was Eddie Murphy's Raw. I snuck into the theater to see it. Like I paid for a ticket to go see whatever, like I don't know, Paddington or whatever the hell it was, some G-rated movie because I was too young to get into an R-rated movie, and then just went in and saw Eddie Murphy Raw, and watching that was when the light bulb went off that I was like, I want to do that.
You saw that and you thought, I could be Eddie Murphy.
No, I saw that and went, I
want to.
I want to stand in front of a large group of people have them hanging on my every word and being entertained.
And
It wasn't about being Eddie Murphy. It was
Right,
about
right, right. No,
it was
it's-
about the power flex.
it's just always my favorite joke.
Yeah.
Whenever a comedian says, "I watched one of the greats do it," and
Yeah.
and then I'm like, "And you said I can do that."
Well, yeah.
Yeah, but it is that, right?
But I mean, it kind of is. It's like,
Was there a disconnect for you between what you're seeing this person doing and how? Because for me, I legitimately, until podcasts started, I didn't think you could do comedy. I thought you had to
Right.
be born into a family and they'll come find you when you're
Yeah.
ready.
well, I thought, like, I did think I had to move to L.A. I thought
Okay.
that was a thing. I thought you could only be a comic if you lived in L.A. or New York.
Do you not have to now? They changed the rules?
They did. They did. I mean, at this point, some of the best-selling comics in the country
Hell yeah.
never did it.
Yeah.
You know, they made their own audiences.
Yeah.
So it is. But I mean, at the time, especially, like, you had to get those TV credits. And I mean, I was living in rural North Carolina, so like Good Nights was there.
Right.
But even Good Nights,
Yeah.
like, seemed like the fact that they even had an open mic. It didn't even occur to me to see if they had an open mic.
Right.
I literally was just like, because I'd been doing theater and like touring around and doing that, and so I was like, oh, like, but stand up. And I was like, well, the stand up clubs are in LA and New York. Like,
You
where
did theater?
Yeah. Oh, I was like a hardcore
theater kid?
Yeah. I think I did something like somewhere between 50 and 60 plays
Really?
between like 14 and 21.
Were you? What was your positioning on the cast? Were you typically were you the lead? Were you?
Yes.
Main guy?
Well, to comedic lead. I was either the lead or I was the comedic
Friend?
sidekick
Yeah.
kind of stuff.
Gotcha.
So I kind of had some timing. I
You
knew how to
singing?
stand on a stage. Character singing.
Gotcha.
Like I can sing pretty accurate impersonations.
How have I known you for 10 years, 11 years? I didn't know you were a theater kid.
I don't know.
I just wasn't listening.
I think that's exactly what it was because I'm pretty sure it's come up.
You said to stand on stage and have that confidence, the confidence that it takes for you to stand on stage and know that you are good at what you do and trust that everyone there can believe you and can have a good
Yeah.
night. Yeah, you do have that confidence on stage. Do you have that confidence at any other aspect of your life?
No.
Me neither.
No, like literally in nothing.
Yeah.
And there are things that I'm better at.
Like what?
I mean, I feel like now, by the fourth kid, I'm probably better at being a parent
Yeah.
than I was. And I'm not a good parent. But no, like,
You're definitely not a road parent. You're not you're not parenting all around the country.
Right. But yeah, people aren't bringing me into Michigan to watch their kids. But no, like I mean, for a long time, I knew I was a much better actor than I was a comic.
Okay.
And that was actually one of the struggles early on with comedy was as long as I was being someone else, I could stand and be articulate and fall into this thing. And the one thing I didn't want in comedy was to become a character.
Okay.
Like a lot of people talk about, comics need to like find their stage persona.
Find
and
their
that
voice.
always like that, not their voice. Like the voice I totally dig, but their persona to me feels inauthentic.
Is that
And that's just me playing with words in my brain.
yeah? That's what I was
Like
going to ask you.
Yeah.
It would just we're arguing a definition of a word at that point,
Right.
right?
But in my brain, those definitions are very different.
It's like when you bring up the word artist to a comedian.
Right.
There's a reaction that happens initially,
Right.
and I think, especially, I know we've had this conversation for the first 8 years of my comedy career. If you'd have called me an artist, I'd have called you a name. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just not true. I'm not an artist. But then I started thinking that, and even now when I'm saying it out loud, there's still some shame to it.
Right.
And so I think words like persona,
Yeah.
like they have this tinge of falseness
Yeah.
to it. You know what I mean? And it's like, oh, I'm not fake up there. I'm so fucking honest.
Yeah.
But that is your persona. When you think about guys
Yeah.
like Eddie Murphy, or the best one is Mark Maron, right? Like
Yeah.
he has a stage persona.
And it took him years to find that because he was angry on stage. He was angry guy. He ran through a lot of different things before he kind of got to himself.
Mm-hmm.
And like for me, one of the things that I like about you on stage is...
Here we go. I was just trying to get to me.
Yeah. No, but one of the things I like about you on stage, though, is there is a heightening from just us sitting here talking like this to on stage. But it's the line between you here and you on stage is close enough that I've never seen you on stage and been like, that's not real. And also, you take your day with you up there, which is something I also do. So if I'm...
To our detriments.
Yeah, but also to our...
Yeah.
Again, like, I really hate the artist word too, but also at the same time I am an artist. Like, the art's not as real if your day is not there with you. If you're just going on stage and literally just faking a show.
I did think that I had to, when I first started, I had to put on ears. Some days I had to tap dance when I didn't feel like tap dancing, and some days I had to pretend to be angry about a thing even though everything was fine. You know what I mean? So it's a wrestling match that I had.
Yeah, I mean it is. And I mean there is a certain amount of, if you've done a joke enough times that you're doing that joke and you kind of have to work up a certain thing, but at the same time I don't need in the same way what I do doing an hour on stage when I'm having a real bad day versus what I'm doing when I'm having a great day are very different things. But while the audience reaction is not exactly the same, it's kind of good that it's not. And it's both of those shows, even when it's the same material, I feel like it's still a good show. Sometimes watching me melt down on stage, just like with you, sometimes watching you melt down on stage is an amazingly entertaining experience.
James Hodge shows.
Yeah.
Those are the times I've enjoyed you the most, is when I know you're in the thick of it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I mean...
When you say take your day on stage, for people who haven't been on stage, how would you explain that?
Well, if you go on stage, if you're just an actor holding a microphone,
you have someone else's day, right?
Right. It's literally just a performance, and you're playing a character. You're playing the angry comic or the happy comic,
you're
or the whatever.
Away from your day,
right? And like for me, but taking your day on stage, if I'm real mad at my wife, then there's a lot more edge to how I'm talking about these things, and different. You and I are flexible in the way we don't have incredibly scripted to the word material.
We don't like to work.
Well, right, yeah. I mean, but that's kind of the thing. I mean, I've done shows before where I was literally just ranting about what I was mad about, but in the context of I was using like punchlines I know that work, not even in the context, because I realized no one's laughing, so I need to say something funny. But
that's a real just beneath the level of the surface of the water. You know what I mean? I'm starting to drown. Let me throw some punchlines out there and see if one of these will work as a flotation device.
And I mean that is why I do value now in a way that I don't think I did when I first started, that we are entertainers. And that there's merit in that, and it's not just about me standing up there and convincing these people to watch me jerk off. Like, I want them to enjoy watching me jerk off. You know,
I want them to want to watch me jerk off. Boodro, for you with comedy and artistry in general, as a tattoo artist and an artist who draws and makes pottery and all of these fucking things. When it comes to comedy, has the word artist been a conversation you've had at all with yourself? Do you consider yourself an artist? And if so, on what levels?
So, I mean, you definitely are performing. You know, the material. Like, if you sit there and you, like, it's, you know, like I've said before, we're, you know, as far as a career, we're all chasing something that doesn't exist. Whenever you try to define art, it's one of the hardest definitions you're going to try and articulate, you know. So it comes down to the fact of, you know, even if you're an actor playing a part, like, you know, you're not bringing.
It's still artistry.
It's still artistry because you're playing a part. You're playing a creation.
Right.
And it's a moment in time. There's a visceral reaction. There's all these different things that if you look at traditional quote unquote art happen. You know, you look at Mona Lisa, there's a reaction. You look at Piss Christ, there's a reaction. You know, you look at Blue Man Group, there's a reaction. You know, are Blue Man Group artists?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can't put that much shit on yourself every night and go on stage and not be an artist. Otherwise, it's just, you know, like.
But I mean, dude.
Imagine doing that and not getting the feel of like artistry, that feeling of accomplishment and sense of like self-worth that it helps you with. You put it on, like literally paint yourself blue to go on stage and not.
That's what we do, except instead of blue paint, it's shame.
Right. Yeah.
But I mean, it's still like, do you discredit one and not credit the other?
Right.
You know, I mean, it's which I just said the same thing. I don't know if you caught that. Discredit one and not credit the other.
Yeah, that's okay. I think that made sense.
Maybe.
Right?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. I like that you question yourself, though.
But that's part of, for me, what makes stand-up even more of a perfect thing for like narcissists like us is
Don't say like us.
Come on. We wrote it. We're performing it. We're blocking our movements. Like everything up there is where, you know, if you're acting, somebody else wrote it. If somebody else is directing it, there's other people on stage with you.
There is some narcissism to that for sure.
Right.
Because it is the thing of, I used to believe it. We actually had a conversation earlier today about it. It's the difference between doing everything yourself and having people to help you and work in a team, right? And that was one of the reasons I really loved comedy. Is it was not only did I not have to worry about anybody else fucking my shit up. When the credit came, it was all mine. Yeah. And so there is for sure some narcissism involved with that. And then you realize, holy shit, this whole thing's easier with other people.
Yeah. That's because we're not as talented as we think we are.
Cross that one off because I am not as talented as Thomas. It was written down right there. It's holy shit, am I talented? So you're about to head on the road, man, and you've been doing this shit for quite a while.
We've turned into those guys.
Right? Well, I always wanted to be one of those guys.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
I used to hear people be like, oh, guys, it smells like the road. I'm like, yeah, it fucking smells delicious.
Yeah.
And I just want to be one of those guys who, I want 45 people to leave the house one night to come see me. That's all I want.
Yeah, and honestly, I feel like I make sure I insert bumpers to make sure I don't get that.
What do you mean?
Smells too much like the road.
Bumpers?
Because if you do too many like small city
only that
comedy club gigs, eventually the material starts to evolve to those people.
Right.
And so no, I'm going to Chapel Hill and I'm doing these jokes in front of 19-year-olds. I'm not just creating stuff that's working for people that don't vote like me, you know?
Yeah.
And so is
that new?
What?
Doing stuff for people who don't vote like you? Because you used to really pride yourself on only.
Well,
you used to really pride yourself.
But that's always my instinctual reaction is making sure I'm not doing stuff for people that don't vote like me.
Right.
But when you're on the road enough, it doesn't matter. It creeps in.
Yeah.
And you realize there's a tag in this joke that I think is gross. Mm-hmm. Why do I keep saying it?
Right.
Oh, because it fucking smashes.
Yeah.
I mean smashes in Columbia, South Carolina.
Yeah.
Like you do this joke in Fort Walton Beach and the room burns down.
Yeah.
And then you're like, but what is it? What are they taking from this that's making them laugh that hard? Ooh, I think they're getting something different from this than even what I intended. So this line has to change.
When did you find yourself catching that?
Really early on.
About year 6
in the road. But it was also, I was lucky because Tom told me to look out for that kind of stuff before I'd ever even had a chance to experience it, because I was talking to him about like the road guys and sort of having a similar conversation to this, because I was like, what happens to those guys? Like they'll be funny, and he's like, man, it's just sometimes it's too much road. And so I've probably always stayed more aware of it, but I'm definitely and again, I'm getting older too. So I want my point of view to be accessible to young. Like, I don't want to just write jokes that are making people on date night laugh.
Right.
Because it's, again, same thing happens. People that go to comedy clubs, they only go, like, the women choose the entertainment typically. So it's a lot of couples watching shows or like sad, lonely guys. Or, and so in those situations, sometimes your material will start leaning like, I'm gonna make fun of women too. And if on occasion you'll find yourself dropping the tag where you're just making fun of guys and not adding in the line that's also making fun of women, because if they're not laughing, their dates won't laugh, kind of thing. And I was like, no, fuck that. I'm not doing that. I'm not gonna. And
it's not just sad, lonely guys. Sometimes it's cool, lonely guys.
I mean, even if they're cool, lonely guys, it's still kind of sad.
You said having the conversation about. You said you had a conversation with Tom.
I had a lot of conversations.
Yeah, well, yeah, you guys are close friends and all that. But you had the conversation about the road stuff forever ago, and now you have them. So isn't it interesting how we've had the conversations with the older comics about this, and now you're on the other side of it, and you get to have the conversations with the younger guys. How has your opinion changed when you were excited to get in it? It's one of those things, right? It's like, careful what you wish for. It's like you wanted it, now you have it. Is it all it was cracked up to be, Jimmy?
Yeah, in some ways it's better.
Yeah.
Than I thought it was gonna be.
Right.
I mean, and then there are obviously the things that there are things that I didn't go into comedy being prepared for. Like opening for, this was very early on in road work. I was hosting a show. I actually went along with the guy that was middling, and so I hosted the show. A friend of mine was middling, and then the headliner was somebody, one of those Last Comic Standing success stories.
Sure.
And after the show, he was being super aggressively creepy with a girl. And I didn't get into comedy knowing that I was going to be looking out for somebody from some mild level celebrity and protecting this girl and making sure she got away safely. So you don't think about the fact that those are the kind of things, like you have those moments where and so that wasn't part of what I was thinking about. And that you feel real bad after a night like that. After you're like, man, I came here, I was really excited to meet this person. Really sucks to find out that guy's a fucking creep.
But the percentage of that is still, and it sucks when that happens.
It's
so low though, right?
It is.
I thought when I got into comedy, I was like, well, I'm going to do this, and 90% of these people are going to be real pieces of shit, but I'm going to meet 10% of people who are going to be fucking fantastic.
Absolute opposite.
It's the absolute opposite. That was the first thing I realized how wrong I was.
Yeah, because we're all
in comedy.
So many of us are broken toys, and so it's like when I see comics defending other comics that have fucked up, like in a bad, not cool way. There's a part of me that's like I understand.
There's more empathy
because you develop relationships with people, and it's way harder. Like for the comics that were loudly backing Louis C.K., like loudly, like Sarah Silverman, and the ones that they have a long-term, intimate, caring, and loving relationship with this person. And yes, this person did something horrible, and yes, this person deserves the consequences they're getting, but it's also somebody that they love and care about. And so
they have a broader experience.
I'm not as quick to be mad at somebody for defending somebody when they're wrong. And that's, does that make sense?
Yeah.
But I mean, especially, I have a brother that did horrible things. So,
I have a friend named James who's done some horrible things, so.
I have a friend named Eric.
So life on the road, man, and now, for a while when you first started getting on the road, you were single Jimmy, and now you're a family guy and hitting the road. What's the difference in those things?
Well, there's certain things that are very different, like what you do after the show.
Yeah, right. Now you just go home and you're watching House Hunters International all night.
Yeah, you're sitting there just watching the iPad, and it's like try not to watch the show you and the wife were watching before you left. You're like, no, I'm not watching season. Episode 7 is once she and I are watching this together. I'm not jumping ahead. No, it's being single on the road. A big part of what you're doing is connecting with not just the show, but with other people, with other comics. You know, when the show's over and all the comics in that town that are hanging out, and you end up staying out till 5 a.m, just talking comedy, talking life, politics, all that kind of stuff. You know, when you've got a wife at home, you wrap that up sooner.
Yeah.
You do. Like, one, because you don't want to get in a situation where something awkward happens. You don't want to get in a situation where you're doing something that's making her feel awkward. Like, I don't want my wife to be worried when I'm on the road that I'm out, like, fucking, hooking up with some, chuckle fucker. You're like,
chuckle fucker.
Like, that's not my phrase. That's someone, I don't know who came up with that. But
no, I just had to repeat it like I had never heard it before.
Yeah. But no, so I don't. So, like, I don't want her to feel uncomfortable about being on the road. And we do have a trusting and strong relationship in those areas. But also, those kind of things are understandable.
Is it harder being gone than it used to be? Like, for me, when I've been single versus in relationships traveling, the single traveling was fun, but it was incredibly lonely to be home. And then when I was in relationships, being on the road was lonely and fun, but I loved being home, hated leaving. And then there were times where it was a fucking real nice break to get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, I mean, that too. But no, it's one for me, it's being on the road is a chance for me to decompress, because I've got 8,000 crazy things going on in my brain that I'm always battling. And so the decompression time is good, but also, I mean, you do, instead of, if I've done, 5 days in the Dakotas, like I'm doing Fargo and then hopping over to like Sioux City and all that kind of stuff. If I'm doing all those shows up there, when I was single, I would take 2-3 days to get home, sleep in the car, stop and do mics in St. Louis, I just did literally like 5 hours of stage time.
You had all your time.
But still, on the way home, I'm stopping to do 5 minutes in St. Louis. I'm stopping
It's about
in Nashville.
efficiency at that point.
But now, when the last show's over, if I'm not flying and I have to catch a plane tomorrow, if I'm driving it, and I drive almost everywhere, like I'll drive as far as Denver, just because I enjoy it and it gives me a chance to all that stuff. Like, it's almost a straight through drive home.
Gotcha.
For me now. Like, I think the longest straight through drive I've done is maybe 34 hours of like literally stopping, taking a 2-hour nap, waking up, driving more.
More naps now, huh?
Yeah. That's the other thing about aging, and like the holy shit.
I would be like, hey man, we're going to fucking Colorado tomorrow. He's like driving straight through.
Yeah.
And now it's like, I'm going to Colorado. It's going to take me 6 days.
Right. It is so different. And just the ability to lean the seat back and go to sleep.
Yeah.
And not wake up in an excruciating pain.
Yeah, dude. When you said something about kind of the brain, shutting your brain down a little bit, or the chatter or whatever it is, mental health wise, being on the road, good for you, bad for you? Was it more difficult before? Is it the same? Is it different than it used to be for you?
One, it's hard to answer that, because I am more conscious of my mental health stuff now.
Right.
I try to be more thoughtful about it, which also makes it way harder.
Yeah.
But I mean, because when you're just completely in denial about how batshit insane you are, sometimes it's easier to just ignore it. And when you're trying to deal with it, and you're trying to be healthy, and you're trying to be a good partner to another person, a good parent to other people, it's it's more challenging, because you're trying to do it right and failing. Where when you're at that point where, like, when you're young enough that the failure still feels like a positive, because at least I'm learning from it, you know. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no. Yeah. That makes so much sense. When you're younger, that ignorance is bliss. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm just carrying all this shit around, but I have no idea. I just think that's my regular weight.
Yeah.
And then when you tell me, oh shit, I'm actually carrying a bunch of stuff, I'm like, oh, this is really heavy. Yeah.
Yeah, and especially like knowing now that my default state doesn't have to be misery. And it makes it when you slide into what is literally almost your default state, but knowing like it weighs even more.
What is your default state now? Because it was misery for quite a while, right?
And again,
it still is. You just recognize it.
I think it's one, recognizing it. It's two, trying to catch it and trying to get out in front of it, and trying to. There's some really unhealthy things I say in my brain now that aren't good things to say to yourself, but are currently helpful. Like, why the fuck do you think you're supposed to be happy? Of course we're supposed to try to be happy. Like, but sometimes I have to say to myself, why the fuck do you think, why would you even deserve to be happy right now? Not because that's true, but because in that moment it's helping me break out of the cycle of, like, I've got nothing to complain about, man. My life is great. Like, it really is. Everybody has difficulties, everybody has problems, but you know, there's starving kids in Africa, and like I get to ride around the country telling dick jokes for money. Like, it's so, like, I don't even really have anything to be upset about. Yes, some terrible things might have happened to me in my life, but they're not happening to me right now.
Right.
So why am I constantly still feeling those things?
Well, because when things like that happen to us, our brains lock into that moment and they run from it, and they spend all of its energy avoiding those things, which is excruciatingly difficult. But yeah, it's the idea. We've set up this idea that we're supposed to be happy all the time, and if you're not happy, you're wrong, and you're really fucking up. You're not trying hard enough, and it's like, dude, there's so many fucking emotions, and happiness is just one of them. And I was talking to a friend, and I was like, how often are you happy? And they're like, not even half the time. I was like, you're fucking killing it, dude.
Yeah.
You know, you're really only supposed to be happy mathematically 12 to 15% of the time, according to all the other emotions that you have to make room for.
And also realizing that dopamine chasing isn't happiness.
Right. Feels like it.
Right. But that's the thing, because all growing up, to not feel all the weight, the way you do that is you chase dopamine. You go out and do dangerous things. You go out and do unhealthy things, because what it's giving you is this big, huge dopamine rush, and you start to think that's what happiness is. And the older I get, learning the idea that happiness is not just contentment, but it's a lot more of happiness involves contentment than I ever understood. That the default state I'm chasing at this point in life isn't the dopamine rush, it's breathing comfortably and being able to sit down and relax.
Being more present and less distracted, whereas it used to be a distraction was the goal.
Distraction was the goal.
Yeah.
And that's exactly like the idea of what you're striving for is being present, and not what you're striving for is escaping. Like, because sometimes just taking a minute and breathing and looking around and just does make that fight or flight thing from trauma calm down. And I had no idea that was possible. And maybe for me at that time, it might not have been. It might have been raw. And
how could it be? So. You know, if you don't know if you can't deal with the things that happen to you, because you can't really comprehend them, and it's an impossibility that you can move past them. You know what I mean? You got to be able to hold them first. So you define happiness now as being in the moment?
Being in the moment, and man, there is something beautiful about flopping out on the couch, watching some horrible TV show that I have no interest in, rubbing my wife's feet, hopping up to grab the kid a snack. You know, that is so much better and safer than
eating pills you found on the ground.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, literally.
Which we've done.
Literally eating pills that you found on the ground, or being the guy that every time you go to somebody's house that has parents, you go through their cabinets to find all the pill bottles, and you don't even read them. You just pour them all in the bowl, and then you and your buddy Max sit around crushing them up and just snorting whatever it is. I probably had great heart health in my early 20s because I was snorting beta blockers, not even knowing that's what I was doing. But also,
I'm 18. I'm not getting osteoporosis.
Yeah. Like
I'm not having a baby anytime soon.
Yeah. I think you just snorted a prescription strength Aleve.
Well, good. I felt the headache coming on.
Yeah, I had a headache. Yeah.
How do you, Boodro? For you, how do you define happiness now?
Man, that's
the question, right?
So personal things going on in the life.
This wash is off, right?
Not today.
No, dude, that looks so good.
Oh, it's coming out good. I would say, I think happiness is a sliding scale. I used to always talk about that median line of happiness, because you brought up the kids in Africa, like they get a good meal. Man, they're fucking ecstatic. We get a good meal, and like Americans will still find something to bitch about. Oh, there was too much ice in my fucking tea.
I bet the kids in Africa still bitch about a good meal.
Well, yeah, I mean,
like they're not angels. Like,
but still, I think that median line of happiness. It flexes, and so like
perspective.
Yeah, your perspective definitely changes, and man, I've been doing a lot of, self rebuilding, doing things to make myself happy where traditionally I really didn't, it was always sacrifice versus doing things to make me happy because I felt I didn't deserve to be happy. And so you put yourself into a pit of despair, and that way any little bitty thing, you're like, fuck, man, I'm so happy right now, And so right now I feel like I'm climbing out of that pit, My son told me, that I dug the hole to sit in it and enjoy, and that's probably one of the last things that he said to me. And other than that, man, it's just if I could talk to my kids, man, it'd be great. Like I'd be fucking ecstatic, but then they would know I would be ecstatic, and so that would keep them from talking to me.
Right.
Think about how crazy it is that three dudes that look like us
our dads
sitting around talking about things like our mental health and dealing with our trauma and dealing with our mistakes and trying to be healthy versus the history of like
it could be it definitely could be a different conversation.
It's all about like if any one of us had been born 50 years ago, there'd have just been no hope for us.
Not a lot of tattoos were being given, and people were talking about mental health.
Right, yeah.
But a thing I said when we did a similar conversation on Tom Simmons' show, Dumbest Guy in the Room, where he was like, if this was our grandparents, I mean, our grandfathers don't have this conversation.
Yeah.
Like, plainly, nobody's talking about how they feel.
Yeah.
Feelings are a relatively new thing.
They were trained not to, and we were. That's a big part of it. Like,
Right.
we were raised, bury that shit. Don't bring it up. You're weak if you expose any of that kind
I
of
didn't
stuff.
smile until I was 27.
I mean, like, I was trying not to. Sometimes I couldn't help myself. And, sometimes I get slapped for it. But I can't say I didn't smile until I was 27 because there were multiple times in my life where I got a hand right across the face just for grinning.
Right.
Yeah,
I
you think you're so fucking smart.
I didn't know I was supposed to talk without my teeth all clenched. You know what I mean? I thought you grew up doing this, you sons of bitches.
Didn't you say you never saw people be nice to each other until you were 30?
Yeah. It's mostly true.
We saw it. We just didn't believe they were really being happy.
I don't think I saw it. I don't think I saw it, man. I don't think I did. I don't think I saw people being nice to each other. I saw people love each other. I saw people care. But even then, my definition of love, it was so incorrect.
Yeah.
Like, even this morning, I wrestled with it, man. Like, I had a real fucking, I had a breakdown on the way here today, you know what I mean? And just really in my shit, crying very heavy, and realizing that my definition of love is so fucked because, when you have people who tell you they love you but prove otherwise, how can your definition be correct?
Right.
I don't even know what the fuck that is. And so then when you're like, so I don't think I saw people be nice to each other. I don't believe any of that was true. I think I see it more often now, but it's not so much family. It's mostly strangers who become family that I see being nice. The new friends I have in my life, the people that I've gravitated towards, that have found me, that I've found. My new relationships with my kids, like, that's the first time I've seen people be nice. Before that, I'm not positive I ever really saw it. Yeah, so I stand by that I didn't see people be nice till I was in my 30s.
I definitely, so it wasn't like at my house, but you're at a restaurant and you just see like a dad cutting his kid's steak and not yelling. And like, I would look over and see that and like, be like, oh, that kid's probably trying to fuck him. Oh, that guy's trying to fuck that kid.
I can't believe that guy's trying to fuck that kid in front of all these people. He's like, James, he is just cutting his steak.
That's just a caring father. Like, that's really all that is.
His dick's out.
But for me, it's like,
I bet his dick's out under the table.
Yeah, that guy's, the reason he's bent over like that is because he's got a boner to hide. Believing or being, it was either not believing that they were genuinely happy or being angry, seeing people. Like, when I was a kid, there was a lake not far from where I lived that I could walk to, and as long as we were willing to trespass, we could go swimming.
Yep.
And so we would sneak, and we would see people going by on boats with big smiles on their face.
Right.
And all I could feel for them was contempt and hate. And, dude, the guy worked hard and he bought a fucking boat. I'm glad he gets to, like, now I can see people experiencing joy and not feel resentment, not feel anger. Sometimes I still do. But, I mean, I like to see people happy.
Right.
I like to see people. That's one of the main things I've loved about comedy is I get to not only enjoy my success, I get to enjoy your success. Of course, there's times where I'll be jealous. Of course, there's times where but I can also enjoy your success. I can enjoy watching JD go from being a guy his first time on stage to figure it out, to get better, to get, and like getting to watch that growth and
watching people pass you. When I was first starting, I couldn't wait to pass you guys.
Yeah.
You and Jordan and Tom and all that. And then when I had like my first group of like comedy kids, like the guys who sat under me, I remember very vividly the first time I did a show with JD and he was better than me.
Yeah.
And I was like, this fucking sucks. And this is the best.
Yeah.
Like it fucking sucked because he caught me. I stood still long enough for him to catch me. And whether I did or not, he was going to catch me. And then when he passed me, it sucked. But then I was like, how fucking cool is it that this kid did the thing he wanted?
Yeah.
And I got to be a part of it.
Yeah. And I have always liked going on stage after somebody did really well. I've never had
How
that.
do I follow this? Or
Like that's never been a thing for me because for me it's always the higher.
I hate it. But
The higher energy. No, but the higher the energy in the room is, the more I'm like, oh, cool.
Right.
Like I get a 15-second buffer here.
right,
Because
they'll
the
laugh at
like,
anything.
like I
You
don't.
get to walk out and go,
Yeah, yeah.
"Man, how about that?
Because like especially if it's 30, 45, like people always want us towards the back of the show now. Like if it's been 45 minutes of not entertaining, you're digging out of a big hole.
I don't do it anymore. You coming out of the old Pandy Wandy, I remember a couple of people asking you and asking me to do shows, and then
Yes, I gave you some valuable.
you really did. It changed stuff for me, and it's been
It's
lovely.
so much better.
James decided to not go last on these shows. Like he said, if I'm not the headline, if it's not travel, I'm not getting paid X amount.
It's not about X amount. It's about if I'm not getting
Well, for me, it's X amount. So.
But if we're not getting if we're just doing somebody's show where everybody's going up to do 15 minutes.
Yeah.
That I don't at this
Why
point.
do I have to go last?
I don't usually even take the money when they hand me the
Right.
$15.
Right. Give it to
Like
them.
I like, dude, give that to the other guys. Like those guys.
I'll take it, but yeah.
I mean, but no, let's just.
I'm not above it.
yeah.
I mean, look,
Hey,
if-
I
hey.
didn't marry into money yet, Jimmy.
Right, exactly. No, I understand that. But no, like so I tend to on those shows. It's like this isn't my show.
Right.
This is our show.
Yeah.
I don't want to do all the heavy lifting. And if you go middle on one of those shows, like that 15-minute spot, like there's 2 in front of you, 2 after you, just gold. And it's you get to go on and just skate and know that you can walk off. But when you got to go, like, don't get me wrong, sometimes I've been at those shows and it was about to be my turn, and I've been like, no, let me close it out.
Yeah.
Like especially if it's not going well.
Yeah.
Like if it's not going well, and I know that there's people that are like, even if it's like $5 ticket kind of thing,
Yeah.
where I'm like, I feel like everybody here is gonna
A $5 ticket costs you about $75.
Right, yeah.
Because you got
So,
gas,
like-
fucking time not home, babysitter, all of it.
I do try to make sure it's like, hey man, this show needs to be something.
Yeah.
And that's not me judging the other comics. Just sometimes
It's
the best of
experience.
us don't have it. I mean, there've been times where other people have bailed me out on shows too. It's not
No, I've done
I'm
it.
superior thing.
I've bailed you out a couple times.
Yeah, I bailed you out too.
Yeah.
You were crying one night.
But you know.
But there weren't laughs, but you were crying, and it was like.
Well, you got to narrow it down to one of the times
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
crying, Jimmy. Otherwise, I'm not gonna be able to remember.
But no, we.
Can I get dates and times, please?
But no, you and I have gotten to experience a lot of things together and separately, and then we get to come back in and sort of check in where you like. I love when I get to see you after I haven't seen for a while because you're working on something different. Like there was a stretch where I don't even know if it was a conscious thing where you just started laughing at your own jokes. And it was just this stretch where and it was a fun little thing you were doing, and it didn't become a permanent part of you as a comic, but there was this little stretch where you would tell the joke and you didn't wait for the audience. You just started laughing because I don't know if you were in a good place. I don't know what was going on.
I was.
But it was this neat little thing you were doing for a while.
That was the first time I had enjoyed doing comedy. I mean, that's what that was. You know, it was like, I don't know if I was in a good place, but I was in a place where I was like, oh, this is fun. It's not a death sentence.
Yeah.
It's not do or die. It's not the most serious thing in the world. It's dick jokes.
Yeah.
And some of these jokes are fun for me. And it would, dude, you know, again, man, I didn't smile until I was 27. I didn't smile on stage until I was 38.
Well, like, you and I have both been a bad dude trying to be a good guy
For sure.
before.
Yeah.
Like, whether it was being overly comedy police, being overly like for a lot of my youth, what I needed to do was hit other people. And the way I was able to hit other people was by being a superhero, being a white knight that came swinging in and you're being mean to this kid. Really, yes, it's nice that I was looking out for that kid, but mostly I just really needed to hit somebody, and that guy was probably not even being that big of an asshole. But and I could justify it though. I was like, no, I was looking out for that guy that was being bullied. Do. But really, it's just I needed to hit somebody. And early on in comedy, I think a lot of my trying to be the comedy police was some of that. I wanted to feel noble. I don't steal jokes, and so if you tell a joke that even kind of sounds like somebody else's joke, I'm going to be a brr, 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 brr.
That's
like,
exactly how I used to say it, too.
Yeah. It is. It's exactly how I used to say it. That's a treat no deal, man. But no, I like the fact that I can just enjoy it for what it is now.
Yeah.
And I can sit back and if somebody's like if I'm at a show and it's not going real well for somebody, like I can sit down and be like, you know what though, I see what he's doing, and
I used to just point and laugh.
Yeah, well, if that person talks to me and asks, I'm not gonna go track them down and be like, hey, don't try doing this. But like if that person and I have a conversation, and I'm like, hey, maybe try this and that and the other. But and then seeing that kind of thing, and then without even saying anything to them, you see them 6 months later, and now they've figured out this thing.
It came to them.
Yeah.
It's, the same way Tom would tell us about what being on the road was and all that, what to look out for. We couldn't know that was a thing until we got there, but then because he mentioned it, we recognized it.
Right.
Instead of having to figure it out on our own.
Yeah.
One of the biggest differences for me, go ahead, Boudreaux.
Do you think some of that is just because you kind of found your place? Like you discovered a place where it was like, this is where I fit in?
I don't know. I don't know if I guess I have. I've been pretty lucky to find a place where I fit in.
I have to actively work not to burn down places where I fit in.
Yeah, because it's scary to have a home.
Yeah.
You ever bring a dog in that's been on the street for a couple years?
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah. Like, I get real freaked out when things seem to be going too well. And so
a little self-sabotage.
Yeah. So I will fuck up friendships. I'm not consciously fucking up this friendship. I just realize, you're just being snide and shitty for no reason other than
being snide and shitty.
Yeah. And recognize
no reason other than I don't like myself.
Right. Yeah.
Let me punish me by punishing you.
Yep.
Yeah, so that you won't like me.
Yeah. So
it's how my relationships end. Yeah. What I started doing, which is like the best thing, one of the best things I ever did for comedy, was I started leaving early.
You doing great things for comedy?
For me. For my comedy. Yes, I do great things. I'm a philanthropist. But one of the best things I've done for my comedy and my sanity is I leave early. I used to be the last one there every night. And that's why I was fucking up all these relationships. I was in them too much. I don't need to spend 8 hours a week with people. Sometimes I just got to do the show and let the young guys hang out. And I had to fuck out at 12:30 as opposed to 4 in the morning.
They don't need me standing there holding fucking court.
They do not.
They do not. Yeah. If they ask, answer, go home.
Yeah. I still catch myself starting to fucking hold court, all the youngins. And then I'll just sometimes, I just dip out. All right, I say something funny, I get the fuck out of there.
Yeah.
That's the best thing for me because I used to stay too long and be too involved and honestly, to a fault accessible.
But we also needed friends.
1,000,000%, but I had no idea how to have them.
Yeah.
And now I can have them at a distance. Not always healthy, but it's healthier than it used to be.
Yeah. Eric will come in the circle and be like, "How you guys make a peanut butter jelly sandwich?" And then he just disappears. and then people are like at each other's throats about how they make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
Well, I am curious about it.
It's nice to set off those grenades and other people.
Yeah, I chuck grenades all the time.
I like to and throw the fucking thing in there. But the peanut butter jelly sandwich is a fascinating one because there is zero uniformity from person to person to person. Everyone makes a peanut butter jelly sandwich differently. You know what I mean? Now, let's walk you through it. Let's figure it out. So when you're in the kitchen, you're about to make a peanut butter jelly sandwich, you reach into the cabinet and you grab your peanut butter and your jelly. What kind of peanut butter, what kind of jelly you got?
Just non-chunky.
Smooth?
Smooth. Usually Jif or Peter Pan,
All right, what kind of-
or a fancy organic.
Oh, look at you.
Like one of those.
Fancy man. What kind of jelly?
I'm a big grape jelly guy.
Grape jelly guy.
Strawberry jelly's okay.
Yeah.
I like some jams. Every now and again, a little
Big
peach
jam.
preserve kind of deal.
Okay, so you go
But
with either
but
way.
mostly like my standard PB&J though
Yeah.
is just smooth, like Peter Pan, Jif, whatever, with some just whatever Welch's. Yeah, Welch's.
you
great.
you have access to any ingredient
Right.
that you want. You grab those are the things you grab. What kind of bread are you using?
Just plain old white bread.
Plain old white bread. Wonder
Now,
bread.
now again, no, not Wonder Bread. Who can afford Wonder Bread? like it's store brand.
I mean, they've caught up. It's,
Well, I know they have, but I
God.
still like. For me, I tend to seek out things that brought comfort in childhood.
okay.
Like especially when it comes to like comfort food, like popcorn.
Yeah. So your bread just says bread on it.
Yeah, well, and whatever grocery store I'm at, it says Food Lion bread.
So you grab 2 pieces of bread. You grab your smooth peanut butter. You grab your grape jelly. You reach into the silverware drawer and you grab a
Butter knife.
Butter knife. You take that butter knife and you grab.
I grab the peanut butter.
Yeah.
I smear the peanut butter on. I'm not a thin, but I don't want it overwhelming.
about a medium.
About a,
If we're
but again,
slicing
what my
that peanut
medium
butter,
is.
it's about a 6.
Yeah, something like that. Something like that. And then I have to get all the peanut butter off the knife.
Okay.
But then half the time I won't even use the knife for the jelly. I'll get a spoon.
Exactly. Well, hold on. So you're taking that butter knife into the peanut butter and you're smearing that on 1 piece of bread, 2 pieces of bread.
1 piece.
1 piece of
One
bread.
piece.
See, this is where
You go to the
this is-
edges.
This is where do you
Yeah,
go to-
yeah. I'm
Some
a.
people go
We
to
got to
that.
fill this whole fucker up. Like you can't leave. Yeah.
And then you get all the peanut butter off this butter knife. You put it in the sink or wherever the fuck you put your silverware, and then you grab a spoon. When you go into the jelly to grab the jelly with a spoon, do you just grab what you use, or do you mix the whole?
I tend to just grab the peanut butter though. I tend to stir.
Fair enough. Yeah, a nice smooth.
Yeah,
peanut
yeah,
butter.
because you get that oil, especially depending like the
the nut butters and things. like that.
like Peter Pan. They put enough chemicals in there that
Yeah,
it's
that's-
almost
that
always
con-
staying that exact
that
consistency,
consistency
even
stays-
for 2 years.
Yes.
But like if it's the other stuff, you get a little separation, so you
Yeah.
got to give it a little stir.
And then when you grab your Clumpo jelly, you get that on the bread with the spoon and you're just kind of mashing it in there.
Well, not mashing it. I'm kind of stirring it around.
Yeah.
Again, trying to get to all the edges,
Right.
trying to spread it out. I want to make sure it's broken up, especially if it's like a Welch's grape
See, but
jelly.
that's why I like to mix it up in the jar first.
Right, which is cool. But at the same time, I like to do it where it pokes holes in the bread. No, I don't like to do that. I just don't stir. Like I tend to get out in front of my skis sometimes.
Right,
and
right,
peanut
right.
butter and jelly sandwiches are one of those things. If I'm making a peanut butter and jelly sandwich not for a child,
Yeah.
it's because I need it.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
yeah, it's the option.
yeah.
Same. So when you put now you got your peanut butter, you got your jelly, you put those two things together. You cut this thing, you don't cut this thing.
I'm cutting this thing, and I have to cut it the way my grandma
Which is?
used to cut it. Which one diagonal
Yep.
and one straight across, so that you get 2 tiny triangles and 2 tennis shoes shapes.
Huh. I've never heard that one.
You're making 2 sandwiches. Or this is one
This is
sandwich.
one sandwich.
All right,
One-
hold
You
on.
cut it across.
Hold on.
You want me to draw it for you? You draw a sandwich.
Tattoo
now,
it on him right now, Boodro.
Now go straight diagonal across.
Right here.
Yeah, right there, and then one right there, straight up. Yeah.
Right there?
Right there.
Huh.
There you go. And then you get 2 little triangles, and then you get 2 little shoes.
2 little shoes.
Tell you what that looks like to me, James. Looks a little bit like a swastika.
Well, my grandma was a Nazi.
All right, show him the tattoo.
Oh my God!
Oh my God! So the peanut butter jelly thing is super interesting to me because no 2 people make a peanut butter jelly sandwich the same. I've asked 100 people this question so far. I'm actually coming out with a podcast. It's just peanut butter jelly
I dig
sandwiches. Yeah, it's basically that. That'll be an episode right there. So,
I think that's wonderful.
one fast food place for the rest of your life. Where do you go? This is the only one you can have for the rest of your life. All the others cease to exist.
right,
where do you go?
Okay, I don't know the answer. I have two answers, and then we're gonna figure out the
Same
answer.
question for you, Boodro.
My answer is either Wendy's or Taco Bell.
Okay. Why are those your two qualifiers?
Okay, because McDonald's, even when I'm fucking hammered drunk, I don't like it.
Okay.
It's just
That's fair.
It's too cardboardy.
If I ask this question and somebody comes with McDonald's or Burger King right away, I have questions about that person's childhood.
Right.
Which yours, I also have questions, but I have the answers as well.
Yeah. But no, like Wendy's, like partially I lean towards Wendy's because you can get a baked potato, but you can also get a burger, and you can also get some nuggets, and so there's a lot of variety on their menu.
The argument for Wendy's is this. It's the consistency.
Yeah, no matter where you are in America.
I'm not saying that it's the best. I am saying that it is top 3 in consistency. If I go to a Wendy's here or I go to a Wendy's in Arkansas, I'm getting mostly the same.
Right.
The consistency level is high. Whereas if I go to a fucking Hardee's, one is the best fucking hamburger I've ever had, and the other one might as well be fucking thrown in my face.
Well, one of the reasons why Hardee's isn't on my list is because there's not enough of them.
Fair enough.
Like that's like there's a Wendy's pretty much everywhere. There's a Taco Bell pretty much everywhere.
Right.
You say Hardee's, then for even if you're looking for Carl's Jr., which is still kind of a Hardee's, well, not kind of, it is. Even if you're looking for that, there's still limited options. There's a lot of small towns in America that you're not getting either one.
Why is Taco Bell on the list?
Because Taco Bell is just guaranteed. I'm hungry. I'm full. We don't have to I
can get a bag full for $7.75.
Some people talk about the digestive issues they have due to Taco Bell. That's never been an issue for me.
Sure.
I can eat garbage out of a trash can and I'm fine.
Right.
So that's not. But
you have a poor people's innards.
Yeah. So no matter and again, you get yourself 4 soft, depending on how hungry you are. You get 4 soft tacos, you get 6. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you might get crunchy when you're feeling
You're always
fancy.
getting 6. You're always getting 6.
I'm not always getting 6.
You're never getting 4.
I'm getting 4.
You're getting 4 if you got to eat. Hurry.
I got 4 yesterday.
Yeah, because you were on your way home. You didn't want your wife to know you got Taco Bell without.
No. I got her Taco Bell too.
You only got 4.
You
on a diet?
No, I should be. I was doing really well, and now put back on 10 of it. So.
All right. So, Boodro, what's your fast food choice?
Is Waffle House in this?
No. So, to qualify, 90% of your restaurants have to have a drive-through. So, because otherwise people just
Waffle House does have grab and go now.
They got to have a drive-through. It's not Waffle House isn't fast food.
Got to have a drive-up window.
Yeah, 90% of them have to drive a drive-up window.
Right.
But they
if I can say, I might go. I don't even think that would be an option.
Yeah. You're not a fast food guy, are you?
No.
You don't love it. But you only get one for the rest of your life?
I'm going to go to Lord's Chicken, Chick-fil-A.
Okay. Chick-fil-A.
Yeah.
So you just don't care what they do to gay people?
Well, it's the yogurt and the fresh fruit for breakfast.
Rock on.
Our friend Jenny Chalikian has one of my favorite Chick-fil-A jokes. She's like, she's a gay woman, and she's like, all this yada yada yada. But then I had some Chick-fil-A, and then I started thinking, about those waffle fries, and maybe marriage is between a man and a woman. Chick-fil-A, as far as that question that I just asked you is much different than the next question, which is what is the best one, right? Because best and the one you're going to have every day are two separate things. Right?
Well, I mean, best, and again, sort of like you were saying, depends on which one you're at. No, Hardee's.
No, it's the consistency.
That's what I'm saying. No, if you're talking about consistently the best.
Yes.
Oh, I want to change
Chick-fil-A.
my answer.
Okay.
But if you're talking about just overall, when it's at its best, it's the best, it's Hardee's.
All right, I want to change my answer. I just thought of this. Dairy Queen.
Ooh. Okay.
Nice.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Deep cut.
You can change your answer. We haven't locked it in yet.
I made it just
You made it just under the bill.
just in the nick of time.
It is a fascinating question though, because everybody has a different answer for that question.
Yeah.
I think it's fun. So you go to Taco Bell or Wendy's. Have you decided yet? We're about to lock them in.
I'm going to go Wendy's.
Gonna go Wendy's.
Yeah.
What was the deciding factor?
Just the variety.
Variety.
Even though I always order the same thing. It's usually 2 junior bacon cheeseburgers, no tomato, and a large fry.
There you go.
But
What do you get
I
for
can
a
also
drink?
get a baked potato. Drink, one of these.
Gotcha. Mountain.
Yeah.
Diet Mountain. All right. Yeah, I went with Taco Bell. And so you're the only other person that had Taco Bell in consideration. Usually if I say Taco Bell, people get pretty upset. But as a vegetarian, fast food-wise, Taco Bell has the most options. Wendy's has second most sauce.
Yeah, their meat's saying. So.
Well, I mean, you know, you get the spicy potato soft tacos, you get the cheesy bean and rice. I can fill a bag for $7.75 without having a compromise. You know, Burger King would be on there if they would make a fucking Impossible Whopper without putting it on the grill and making me shit myself in an open mic, but that's for another day.
I don't like Whoppers, but sometimes I want a Whopper.
Yeah.
Like they're not.
I don't like Big Macs. Sometimes a Big Mac calls my name.
I never want a Big Mac.
hits
Never want a Big Mac.
Never want a Big Mac.
Did you just say Big Mac attack?
No, I said sometimes a Big Mac hits really, really good.
Yeah.
Not all the time, though.
A drunk
sometimes.
Big Mac, I would argue, is the best Big Mac.
Baby, yeah.
But you're not a Big Mac guy.
I can't do a Big Mac.
That's fair. All right. Next question, and then we'll get back to talking about being molested as a kid. The properly rated, overrated, underrated gift baskets.
Not a personalized gift basket.
Yeah,
a gift basket, a shelf bought gift basket.
Already wrapped up and everything.
Yeah.
Well, you know, sometimes somebody brings up something you can honestly say you've never thought about it once in your entire life.
Right.
And so I have no idea where other people rate it, so I don't know if it's overrated. For me personally, I would say perfectly rated because the rating is just 0.
So properly rated at overrated. Sounds like you're.
I don't know. Are people highly rating?
People still buy them. They still sell them at stores. So I feel like gift baskets are incredibly overrated. They're a bad gift, and I'll tell you why. And someone just.
I'm glad that we were able to set this up for you.
A friend gave me a gift basket. It made me think about it, and I love her. She's fantastic. She got me a gift basket.
Friend?
Yeah. Former friend. Yeah. Because I'm lonely, and so she bought me the gift basket, and I look at it, I'm like, it's so fucking pretty, but the whole basket is just full of cardboard,
right?
And then all the shit is just on top, and I think it's false advertising. And Boudreau is 100% correct. He said only 2 of those items are going to be good. And it's 1,000,000% true. You're gonna get 12 items, and 2 of them are gonna be good.
Yeah, I feel like gift baskets are like the original like FabFitFun or Bespoke Post, where like you're just getting this monthly thing. It's most of that shit's useless, but there's one thing in there you might be like, oh, that's great.
Yeah. Sorry, I don't want this orange nougat.
Yeah, your parent got you a subscription to fucking Chicken of the Month Club. Or whatever.
Chicken of the Month.
Chicken of the Month. What? Did you know chickens don't have skin?
And what the hell did my grandma always peel off for her health?
We like silence. We just did good. That was a pretty good.
Every now and again, we got to breathe a little.
Yeah, that was a good clip. We did like an hour straight.
I'd like to take a second to point out the fact that this part, right up under, like that's the most cat scratch.
Okay.
Burn. Like right in there.
I really wish Tom Simmons was here for this, because I've been asking Tom if he wants a tattoo, and Owen's wanted one.
Yeah.
And so we had Owen and Tom.
Tom doesn't have any tats, does he?
No. And so Owen's been wanting one. And so we had Tom and Owen, and Serena came in, and they watched Sethy Boy get a tattoo, and they asked questions, and we did one of Tom's podcasts with Boudreau, and they got to ask some questions, which was pretty cool. And Tom watched Seth sit for the tattoo, and Seth sat like you're sitting. He just sat, and it is what it is. It's happening. Yeah. This is not the worst thing that's ever happened in my life. I kind of like it, you know. Yeah. And so Tom was like, I think I could do one. He was basically like, I think Seth's a pussy. I think
he totally discredited me.
Totally discredited the way he sat so great. And I know that if Tom watched you get a tattoo right now, because you're just sitting there, he'd be like, I can get a tattoo on my face.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, but that's, again, can't explain totally why, but sometimes pain fills my brain with dopamine.
Yeah, dude.
And I guess it's that's probably an unhealthy,
For sure. I mean, I've had so much bad pain that some pleasurable pain is a decent thing.
Get something cool afterwards. You've never there's not a lot of injuries you can get, and then afterwards be like, oh, hell yeah, this is awesome.
Sweet, I never wanted a big toe.
Yeah. Hell yeah, this is going to be on me forever, this scar,
So you have, is this your second tattoo?
Fourth.
Fourth.
Yeah.
So you have the 2 hip for the room?
Yeah, I got some other shit on my back.
Gotcha.
That I want to get covered. Well, not necessarily covered, but expanded on and have more added
just
to.
filled in?
Yeah. When I filled, I just want to make more stuff around it bigger that's connected to what's there.
Oh, nice. Hell yeah. How you doing, Boudreaux?
This is it, man.
We just started talking.
Well, we can keep talking. There is no limit on the talkie.
Boudreaux's contract is, once I'm done, everybody shut up.
Yeah, shut up.
Shut the fuck up and get out.
You don't gotta go home, but you can't stay here.
Now you're just trapping in that new tattoo smell, right?
Yes. But yeah, we got to talk some more because if you and I haven't talked enough.
What is this? Hopefully this isn't the last episode.
I mean, all right, if you want to give me more free tattoos.
Hopefully this isn't it. Put a good word in with Eric for me.
Absolutely.
Take a look,
Shit, I
man.
got to look. I'm so excited.
Wait a second.
Yeah, wait, let him get his phone going there.
All right. You ready?
Yeah, I'll see it.
You need good lighting?
Ah, I'm good.
All right.
Go for it.
There
It's
we
all
go.
you.
Fuck yeah.
That what you wanted?
Yeah, man. Jesus, that's good. You're a fucking artist. Like, no, like we a lot of times we go, we're an artist. You're a fucking artist.
I try, man.
You're a fucking artist. That is.
You're a fucking artist.
Yeah.
We're all.
Yeah, well, everything sounds like an insult when I say it.
You're a fucking artist.
We're all fucking
Your mom's a fucking artist.
Your mom is an artist.
Oh, yeah.
You ever have one of those moments where you're like, fuck, my dad might have been right?
About what?
Your mom.
Here's the cold open.
Oh, shit. But yeah, man, I like that one. I like that one a lot. So do you feel successful as a road comic? Like,
I feel like, okay, so here's the thing. For me, I get real wrapped up always, and will always get real wrapped up in, I made it to this rung on the ladder, now I want to make it to this rung on the ladder. And I should, and you should too probably, step back more. Because I have the moments, I do have those moments where I sit back and be like, holy shit, I've actually gotten farther in this than I even thought maybe I could.
okay.
Like even, or like it was almost like Dare to Dream kind of
Yeah.
level when it comes to, and so, but then there's also well, yeah, but also I want to do this, and then I want to do this.
You're a progress
And then
junkie.
Well, I am a progress junkie because, but also you have to, once you also got to maintain. And so to some extent, like Eric and I talked about this a lot a few months ago, as comics, realizing that there's been reversion where I'm still not all the way back to where, like, because of COVID and because of all that break and all that kind of stuff, I'm still not back on stage to doing as well as, I'm not even talking about the audience laughter or the audience response. I'm talking about, for me, knowing that I'm just hitting on all cylinders. Like right now, I feel like I'm hitting on 7 cylinders. Like when we talked before, I felt like it was maybe 5, like out of the 8. So I would like to get back to 8, and then even then, that's not as high as I want to get to as a comic. So even saying 8 is silly. Maybe the best I ever got to was 4. Like the best I ever was a 4-cylinder. So I still want to get to a 8-cylinder. But it's right now it's getting back to where I was so that I can get back to growing.
Do you think that's, for me, my standards are higher than they were before I quit, you know? Like the pandemic allowed me to be like, maybe I'll never do this again, and I think I'm okay with it. I want this break so badly, and then I took it, and then I was like, that's not really what I wanted. I just needed a break. I didn't want to quit. I needed a break. I took the break, and now I feel like I'm funnier. I'm for sure a better person, but I am not as good on stage. The comfort level is not there for me. Yeah.
I mean, I think that's a lot of it is, I mean, there is when you are, especially when you're doing long sets, when you're doing 45 to an hour and a half, when you're doing those big, long sets, there is when you're really feeling it, there is a groove that you lock into that becomes... This is such spirituality nonsense, but there's like there's like an energy tendril out of you to everybody in the room. There's this back and forth. There's this connection. There's this literally you're vibing with somebody you can't fucking see, but you can feel. I mean when you're going and it's there and it's happening and you get in it and you stay in it, and then you realize, holy shit, I've been up here over an hour, and I haven't really started my act yet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, and it's not the right word for it, but the only word I've ever found to describe it is it's almost like a hypnosis kind of thing where you're hypnotizing yourself and you're hypnotizing them.
It's an exchange of energy.
And yeah, it's where right now, it's taken me way longer to get there with them, and it's harder to keep them there. And what I want to get back to is to where it's 95% of the time when I'm up there doing that kind of time, that it's happening.
Yeah.
And we're all locked in together, and nobody's going to piss. No, like that guy has had 6 beers. Mm-hmm. He is about to piss his pants. But he's not getting up. That guy's fucking staying in that seat.
And he's going to stay there, and I'm going to try to make him piss his pants.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell him that's what I'm doing, and he's going to sit here because he doesn't want to miss nothing.
Yeah, and he's, in a weird way, there's a moment of he's almost mad at me. He's like, fucking don't mention it, bro! And it's, but they're like, so getting that back. And then it's just a matter of, I don't know, I'm glad I still really love it.
Yeah.
Like, I really am, because you never know. I mean, you burn out on things. But I fucking still love it. You know, you just go up there and I don't know, man. Of course you love it, though. It's a dopamine high. It's a high wire act. It's danger, but it's excitement. It's all the probably unhealthy shit.
I mean, well, it is that daring to dream thing, though, right? And I think you're similar. We're similar in a lot of ways, but one of them is that we loved it when we were children. I would have rather, when I was a kid, been a professional comedian than a professional athlete.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
And luckily, because
as fate would have it,
there's no way I could have been a professional athlete. Meanwhile, the comedy. So I do.
You could have been a pro bowler.
Yeah.
Like, I really do believe that about you. I'm not just saying that, Eric.
All right, go fuck yourself, James. Go fuck yourself, James.
Maybe a golfer.
Driver, maybe. But yeah, man, it is like. And then you have the experiences that you've had, and the experiences, you've worked with, like, the names, you know what I mean? Like, you've worked with the fucking guys, and those guys know you, and they're in your phone.
Made them laugh, though.
Yes. I have that list in my head.
That's the thing.
Yeah, get the fuck out of here.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
You look over into the wings, and you see leaning up against the back wall in the club, and you see somebody that...
Dave Chappelle.
I mean, yeah. But not just, man.
Yes. No, I know.
Even when it's the ones that it's not somebody that you're like, I respect the shit out of that guy, but like, man, Bob Saget was on my TV 100 times a week my entire fucking childhood, and I stood on stage and I made that guy bend over laughing.
Yeah.
Like, he looked like I can still at this moment picture Bob Saget having to push his glasses back up onto his face because he was laughing so hard at what I just said.
What a crazy life.
And that's fucking nuts that
That's insane.
we can
Yeah.
have experiences like that. Like, it really is.
Yeah.
And to be able to do shit with guys like Crimmins, knowing that not only as a person we could connect, but this is the guy that influenced the guys that influenced me, kind of thing. Like, he was at the heart of that whole Boston thing that turned into comedy for 20 years.
Yeah.
And he was and to hear that guy telling stories, and it's fun. And then to get to where he's become like so human to me in our relationship, that like he's literally talking about something and I'm like, I don't know, you might have handled that one wrong there, Barry. Yeah.
But like, I was on stage the first time I worked with Barry. It's remarkable, but it's like you're saying. I was on stage, and I wasn't going to do my being molested jokes, being molested as a kid, because that's a lot of his shit, and I didn't want to, if the...
You didn't want to step on his dick.
Yeah, if the headliner is talking about being married, you drop the marriage material. But he asked me if I was going to do it, and I was like, no, I wasn't going to do it. He's like, oh, I'd like to see it, because we talked about it, he had heard about it. And so I did it, and it was at the Old 80 Bucks on Elm Street, and he's at the bar, and he's up after me, so he's walking to the back. And I told the joke, and he's walking up, I can picture it, and he's like, it's a good fucking joke. And he just kept walking, and I was like, fucking how cool is that?
Yeah.
This moment right here, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then, like you said, with the Bob Saget thing, dude, like, the guy's on your TV, and then
Bobcat Goldthwait, like
Yeah,
so
dude.
many of the guys. I mean, it's not like I don't sit around being like my goal in life is to be like loved by the fucking guy
Well, it's
from
a
the Police
validation.
Academy movies, But at the same time, it's like not to minimize his career. He's had an amazing career post Police Academy. He's directed some awesome movies.
yeah,
Great
yeah,
writer, cool guy to actually sit and talk to. But like, it's something crazy about seeing the guy who you saw on screen with Steve Guttenberg being like, oh, and like he's right there and he's giggling at my joke. Like, he stopped trying to hit on that girl long enough to laugh at my shit. And by the way, Bobcat is not the creep. I want to clarify that.
Yeah, he was never on Last Comic.
He is a big flirt, but he's not the creep. But no, it's just there's something fucking wild about.
How comes it comes full circle, kind of like
Yeah,
that?
I mean, you're making somebody laugh that made you laugh, and not just made you laugh. That, like, somebody like Chappelle, man, like, there is something, like, that guy told jokes that made me want to tell jokes.
Right.
Well, Eric was mentioned that energy exchange earlier, and then it's like that you exchanged energy with that person through a TV, and you weren't even in the same like area code as them, and now you're 5 feet away from them, and you're having the same. It's the same thing.
I just always wanted to make people laugh, and it was more important when funny people laughed. And the funnier the person, the more important that laugh. And then it is that validation. You know what I mean? It's like, holy shit, I might be funny.
Yeah, and there's still the mic.
My
But there's also that he's one of those guys that shook the hand of Sinatra kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's like, it's a very like, but it's like, yeah, see that guy? That guy shook the hand of Sinatra. But for us in comedy, it's like that guy shook the hand that shook Carlin or Pryor or and then there's the literally like people that never got famous, never got big, but I've able to develop relationships and have conversations with that were just around at the Comedy Store when it all started, or got to see Carlin when he was making that transition from trying to be, Danny Kaye to being the Carlin that we all know and love, or saw Pryor make that transition. Yeah. And so it's like, it's just, we have our own universe that's like ours, and we get to share it with each other. And I don't know, I just fucking love it, man.
Yeah.